Stop allowing self-deception through hope. Stop pretending that giving more will generate appreciation. It won't. It will generate expectations. And expectations without reciprocity define exploitation. Recognize begging as strategic suicide. The moment you do, you can terminate it. And the moment you terminate it, everything transforms. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I position, never seek. Number 2, cut familiar access before it breeds entitlement. Familiarity is where respect deteriorates. Think about how people approach strangers versus how they approach you. With strangers, they're measured, careful, considerate. They don't know the stranger's tolerance threshold, so they default to respect. But with you, they know precisely what you'll tolerate. They've tested your limits repeatedly, and every time you yielded, they documented the lesson. That's familiarity's function. It eliminates uncertainty. And without uncertainty, there's no incentive to maintain standards. People mistreat you not because they're fundamentally malicious, but because you've made mistreatment safe. You've provided repeated access without requiring sustained respect. You've readmitted them after violations. You've accepted apologies without witnessing behavioral reform. And now, entitlement exists. Entitlement isn't constructed overnight. It's assembled through repeated patterns where someone receives access without maintaining standards. Every time you allow disrespect while maintaining proximity, you participate in your own devaluation. So cut the access. Not through announcements, not through explanations, not through declarations about your new boundaries. Just stop being available as you were. Stop responding with your previous speed. Stop clearing obstacles for them. Stop being the person who always facilitates. Remove comfort without confrontation. This is critical. Confrontation creates negotiation opportunities. It gives people chances to explain, to make promises they won't fulfill, to temporarily modify behavior until you relax again. Silence eliminates that opportunity. It creates a void they must fill with their own uncertainty about why conditions changed. And that uncertainty restores what was lost. Unpredictability. Unpredictability about whether they still possess access. Unpredictability about whether they crossed an irreversible line. Unpredictability about whether their behavior now carries actual consequences. That unpredictability forces recalibration. Not your words, not your explanations, your absence. When you limit repeated access, you're not being vindictive. You're being tactical. You're communicating through action. Access to me isn't guaranteed. It requires continuous earning through how you conduct yourself. Most people won't comprehend this immediately. They'll reach out confused. They'll probe for explanations. They'll attempt to restore the previous dynamic where they could behave however they wanted while retaining access. Don't explain. Don't justify. Don't provide the closure they haven't earned. Let your unavailability communicate everything. Here's what unfolds. Some people will elevate to meet the new standard. They'll examine their behavior. They'll improve their conduct because they recognize they might actually lose access. Those are the people worth maintaining. But most won't. Most will become frustrated that you're no longer performing your previous role. They'll accuse you of transformation. They'll claim you're different and they'll be correct. You are different. You stopped participating in your own disrespect. Let them exit. Prevent entitlement by restoring uncertainty. Make your presence something that requires earning, not something guaranteed regardless of treatment. That's not cruelty. That's self-respect executed structurally. Number 3, identify the entitlement shift immediately. There's a specific moment in every dynamic where transformation occurs. It's subtle. Most people miss it entirely, but once you learn to identify it, you'll observe it everywhere. It's the moment gratitude vanishes. Someone requests assistance, you provide it, they express appreciation, that's standard. But then they request again and again. And somewhere in that repetition, the thank you disappears. The appreciation evaporates. What was once a request transforms into an expectation. That's the entitlement shift. And if you don't identify it immediately, It calcifies into permanence. Someone asks if you can assist with something, you do it because you're capable and willing. They're grateful. They emphasize how much it means. They promise they won't request again, but they do request again. And because you assisted previously, refusing now seems inconsistent, so you assist again, and gradually the request metamorphoses. It's no longer "can you assist me?" It becomes "when can you do this?" The shift from can to when is everything. One is a question, the other is a presumption. Notice when requests mutate into expectations. Pay attention to language selection. Pay attention to tone. Pay attention to their reaction when you're not immediately available. Do they understand or do they express frustration? Do they accept your limitations or do they pressure you to make exceptions? Do they thank you each time or do they act as if your assistance is owed? These aren't trivial details. These are diagnostic signals. They reveal exactly where someone believes they exist in relation to you. And if you ignore these signals because you don't want to appear suspicious or untrusting, you're engineering your own exploitation. Machiavelli once said, "The promise given was a necessity of the past. The word broken is a necessity of the present." People will promise you respect, consideration, and gratitude when they need something from you. But once they possess it, once they know you'll provide it repeatedly, the promise becomes irrelevant. What matters is whether you enforce consequences, mark resistance as a diagnostic signal, not an insult, when you decline, or when you're unavailable, and someone responds with frustration, guilt, manipulation, or passive aggression. That's data. That's them revealing they believe access to you is their right, not your choice to grant. Most people become defensive when they observe this behavior. They feel guilty. They question whether they're being unreasonable. They wonder if maybe they should assist once more. Don't. Resistance to your boundaries confirms those boundaries are necessary. People who respect you won't resist your limits. They'll accept them. People who feel entitled to you will fight every boundary you establish because boundaries threaten their access. Let them resist. Don't argue. Don't defend your position. Just maintain it. The resistance reveals everything you need to know about whether this person deserves continued access. Identify the entitlement shift the moment it occurs, not days later, not weeks later, immediately. Because the longer entitlement exists unchallenged, the harder it becomes to reverse, and once it's permanent, the dynamic is already destroyed. You just haven't acknowledged it yet. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I recognize entitlement immediately. Number 4, refuse guilt as a control mechanism. Guilt is the weapon deployed when logic fails. Consider the pattern. When someone can't provide a rational reason why you should comply, what do? They make you feel deficient for not complying. They frame your boundary as selfishness. They rewrite your refusal as betrayal. They cast you as the villain in a narrative they constructed specifically to manipulate you. And if you're not vigilant, it succeeds. Here's what guilt sounds like. After everything I've done for you, you can't do this one thing. Or I thought you cared about me. Or you've changed, you never used to be like this. None of those statements are arguments. They're emotional manipulations designed to make you reverse your decision under duress. They're attempts to make you prioritize someone else's comfort over your own boundaries, reject emotional framing entirely. When someone attempts to make you feel guilty for declining, what they're actually doing is confirming your decline was necessary, because people who respect your boundaries don't need to manipulate you into abandoning them. Do not reverse decisions under pressure. This is absolutely critical. The moment you change your mind because someone induced guilt, you've taught them exactly how to control you. You've demonstrated that logic doesn't matter, that your stated boundaries don't matter, that all they need to do is make you feel sufficiently bad and you'll comply. And they will deploy that tactic indefinitely. Most people reverse their decisions because they can't tolerate the discomfort of someone being upset with them. They'd rather betray their own boundaries than sit with the tension of disappointing someone. But that's not kindness. That's cowardice disguised as compassion. Here's what you need to understand. Treating guilt as manipulation, not communication, doesn't make you heartless. It makes you clear-sighted because genuine communication respects the other person's position even while disagreeing. Manipulation attempts to emotionally coerce them into abandoning their position. When someone says, "I thought you cared about me," after you establish a boundary, what they're actually saying is, "I thought I could control you by questioning your loyalty. Don't accept it. Respond with clarity, not emotion. I do care about you, and I'm also not available for this." Or simply, "I understand you're disappointed. My answer remains no." Then stop talking. Don't justify. Don't over-explain. Don't provide them more material to weaponize. Your no is a complete sentence. Anything you add after it becomes ammunition for them to use against you. Watch what happens when you refuse to engage with guilt. Some people will respect it and adjust, others will escalate. They'll intensify anger. They'll accuse you of not caring. They'll threaten to remove themselves from your life. Let them. Anyone who threatens to exit your life because you set a boundary was never adding value to it. They were extracting value. And the moment you stop permitting extraction, they had no reason to remain. Refuse guilt as a control mechanism. Not sometimes. Every single time. Because the moment you capitulate once, you've reset the entire dynamic. You've confirmed that your boundaries are negotiable if someone just applies sufficient pressure. Make your boundaries non-negotiable. Not through aggression, through consistency, through refusing to be moved by emotional manipulation disguised as hurt feelings. That's not cruelty. That's self-command. I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Guilt doesn't control me. Number 5. Shut down the just this once breach. Just this once. Those 3 words have destroyed more boundaries than any direct assault ever could, because just this once sounds reasonable. It sounds like compromise. It sounds like you're being flexible rather than rigid. But here's what it actually represents: structural damage. Every exception you permit creates a precedent. Every time you bend your rule just this once, you're teaching someone that your rules aren't actually rules. They're suggestions. They're negotiable. They're things you'll abandon under sufficient pressure. And once someone learns that, they'll apply pressure every single time. Here's the mechanism. You establish a boundary. Someone tests it. You hold firm. They push harder. They promise it won't recur. They swear they'll never request another exception. They make it seem like this one small bend is the difference between you being understanding or unreasonable. So you bend just this once. And that's the moment you lose. Not because of what you permitted this time, but because of what you've communicated about every future interaction. You've shown that your boundaries have breaking points. You've revealed that persistence works. You've confirmed that your structure isn't actually a structure. It's just a preference that dissolves under pressure. Treat exceptions as structural damage, because that's precisely what they are. One crack in a foundation doesn't seem critical, but that crack spreads. It weakens everything, and eventually the entire structure collapses. Eliminate flexibility under pressure. This doesn't mean you can't make conscious choices to adjust your boundaries. It means you don't make those adjustments while someone is actively pressuring you to do so. If you're going to make an exception, it should come from your own consideration when you're calm and clear-minded, not from someone's manipulation in the moment. Because decisions made under pressure aren't decisions, they're surrenders. Machiavelli once said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command. You cannot command respect if your commands collapse the moment someone resists them. Cannot maintain authority if your authority is conditional on whether people agree with it. You cannot protect your peace if you allow others to negotiate with it. Understand that one bend creates permanent leverage against you. The person who got you to make an exception once will reference that exception eternally. But you did it last time. You made an exception for them. Why not me? I thought we had that kind of understanding." They'll use your one moment of flexibility as justification for permanent access to flexibility. And you'll spend the rest of the dynamic defending a boundary you should have never compromised initially. Here's what you do instead. When someone asks for just this once, your answer is no, not even this once. When they promise it won't happen again, your answer is then you'll understand why I can't make this exception. When they accuse you of being inflexible, your answer is yes, I am. Deliberately, don't soften it. Don't apologize for it. Don't explain why your boundary exists. Just maintain it. The boundary is the message. Your consistency is the enforcement. Some people will respect this. They'll realize you're serious about your structure, and they'll adjust their expectations. Others will become angry. They'll accuse you of being cold. They'll claim you don't care about them, and they'll be demonstrating exactly why the boundary was necessary. Shut down the just this once breach immediately, because there's no such thing as just this once. There's only the first compromise that makes every future compromise inevitable. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My boundaries have no exceptions. Number 6. Operate cold-blooded, not cruel. Let's be precise about something. Cold-blooded doesn't mean heartless. It doesn't mean you stop caring. It doesn't mean you become someone who mistreats people for entertainment. Cold-blooded means calculated. It means your emotions don't override your strategy. It means you maintain awareness and control even when people are attempting to manipulate you into losing both. Most people confuse emotional control with emotional absence. They think being cold-blooded means shutting down your feelings entirely. That's incorrect. Your feelings still exist. You just don't let them make your decisions. Maintain awareness without hostility. You can recognize when someone is testing you, disrespecting you, or attempting to manipulate you without becoming aggressive about it. You don't need to call them out. You don't need to explain what they did wrong. You just need to adjust how you respond to them. Control expression under pressure. This is where most people fail. Someone says something disrespectful, and they immediately react with anger or defensiveness. That reaction surrenders control. It shows that the other person can affect you. And once they know they can affect you, they know how to control you. Stay measured. If someone says something designed to provoke you, don't give them the reaction they're fishing for. Respond with calm clarity or don't respond at all. Let your lack of reaction be its own message. Remove predictability by limiting emotional access. When people can predict how you'll respond, they can plan around it. They know which triggers to activate. They know which tactics work. They know how to regain access after disrespecting you. Break that pattern. Stop being emotionally transparent with people who haven't earned that level of access. Stop explaining your feelings to people who weaponize those feelings against you. Stop giving people the blueprint to your emotional vulnerabilities. This doesn't mean you become robotic. It means you become selective. You reserve your emotional transparency for people who've proven they'll protect it, not exploit it. Here's the distinction between cold-blooded and cruel. Cruelty seeks to harm. Cold-blooded simply refuses to be harmed. Cruelty is active destruction. Cold-blooded is strategic protection. You're not trying to hurt anyone. You're trying to prevent anyone from hurting you. You're not cutting people off out of malice. You're removing access from people who've proven they can't handle it responsibly. That's not cruelty. That's self-preservation executed with discipline. Most people will misunderstand this. They'll interpret your emotional control as you not caring. They'll mistake your strategic distance as coldness. They'll accuse you of changing. Let them. Their misunderstanding is not your responsibility to correct. Your responsibility is to protect your peace. And if protecting your peace requires you to be less emotionally available to people who've abused that availability, so be it. Operate cold-blooded, not cruel. Maintain your humanity while refusing to let that humanity be weaponized against you. Care about people without sacrificing yourself for people who wouldn't do the same for you. That balance is where power lives, not in heartlessness, in discipline. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. I am calculated, never cruel. Number 7, use silence as containment, not escape. Silence is the most powerful response you possess. And most people waste it. They break silence because they're uncomfortable. They fill the void with explanations, justifications, oversharing. They think silence makes them look guilty or weak, so they talk themselves into corners trying to prove otherwise. But here's what Machiavelli understood. Silence isn't emptiness. It's pressure, and pressure reveals truth. When you stop explaining yourself, people must sit with their own interpretation of your silence. When you stop correcting their assumptions, they must confront their own behavior. When you stop filling the space with words, the space itself becomes a message. Stop explaining. Every time you explain yourself to someone who doesn't respect you, you're providing them information they'll use against you later. You're showing them which justifications you think are valid. You're teaching them which arguments work on you. Silence eliminates that advantage. It gives them nothing to work with, nothing to argue against, nothing to twist into their own narrative. Stop correcting perceptions. People will form opinions about why you're pulling back. They'll tell themselves stories about what you're thinking. They'll project their own guilt onto your silence and convince themselves you're the problem. Let them. Their need to make sense of your silence is not your responsibility to satisfy. If they respected you, they wouldn't need to make sense of it. They'd simply reflect on their own behavior and adjust. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are. Let people see what they want to see in your silence. Their interpretation will reveal more about them than any explanation from you ever could. If they assume your silence is punishment, that tells you they know they've done something wrong. If they assume your silence is indifference, that tells you they never valued your engagement initially. Let silence expose intent and recalibrate behavior. When you go silent after someone disrespects you, you create a void they must fill. Most people will fill it with anxiety about what they did wrong. That anxiety is what drives behavioral change, not your words. Your explanations give them closure they don't deserve. Your silence forces them to sit in uncertainty. And uncertainty is what makes people examine their own actions. Here's what happens when you use silence strategically. People start reaching out, attempting to figure out what's wrong. They start apologizing for things you never mentioned. They start promising to change behaviors you never called out. They expose themselves completely just trying to resolve the tension your silence created. And then you have perfect clarity about whether they actually understand what they did or whether they're just trying to restore access. Silence as containment means you're not avoiding confrontation. You're creating space where the other person must confront themselves. You're not running away. You're holding a boundary without negotiation. Most people fear silence because they think it means they're giving up. But strategic silence isn't surrender. It's the most powerful move you can make. It says, I don't owe you an explanation. I don't owe you closure. I don't owe you another chance to argue with my boundaries. Use silence as containment, not as escape, not as passive aggression, as a deliberate strategy that forces people to reckon with their own behavior while protecting you from further manipulation. That's Machiavellian discipline. That's cold-blooded control. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My silence speaks volumes. Number 8. Enforce consequences, not conditions. Most people spend their lives setting conditions they never enforce. If you do that again, I'm done. But then the person does it again and they're still there. Next time there won't be a next time, but there's always a next time. I mean it this time, but they never mean it. That's why nobody takes their boundaries seriously, because they've proven through repeated patterns that their conditions are just words, threats without teeth, warnings without follow-through. Replace warnings with action. Stop announcing what you're going to do. Stop giving people advance notice of your boundaries. Stop explaining what will happen if they cross the line. Just act when the line is crossed. When someone disrespects you, don't say, if you do that again, I'm going to pull back. Just pull back. When someone takes advantage of your generosity, don't warn them that you'll stop being generous. Just stop. When someone violates your trust, don't threaten to cut them off. Just cut them off. Let your actions be the consequence. Let the consequence be immediate. Let it be undeniable. Eliminate negotiation entirely. The moment you give someone a warning, you've opened the door to negotiation. They'll promise to change. They'll explain why they did what they did. They'll ask for one more chance. And if you're not careful, you'll give it to them. Because you're not enforcing consequences. You're creating conditions for negotiation. Consequences don't have conversations. They don't explain themselves. They don't give second chances. They just happen. And the person experiencing them must figure out why on their own. Let structure, not emotion, govern interaction. This is the key. When your responses are emotional, people can appeal to your emotions. They can make you feel guilty. They can make you question whether you're overreacting. They can manipulate you into softening the consequence. But when your responses are structural, when they're simply the automatic result of certain behaviors, there's nothing to negotiate. The person violated the structure responded. End of discussion. Here's what this looks like in practice. Someone repeatedly cancels plans with you at the last minute. Most people would say, "Hey, if you keep canceling on me, I'm going to stop making plans with you." That's a condition. It invites negotiation. The person will apologize, make excuses, promise to do better. Instead, enforce the consequence. Stop making plans with them. No announcement, no warning, no explanation. Just stop. When they notice and ask why, you can be honest. "You canceled too many times. I adjusted accordingly." That's it. No negotiation, no discussion about whether they had good reasons, no debate about whether you're being fair. The behavior triggered the consequence. The consequence stands. This approach feels harsh to people who are accustomed to giving endless chances. But here's the truth. People don't change because of your words. They change because of consequences. And if there are no real consequences for disrespecting you, there's no real reason to stop. Enforce consequences, not conditions. Make your boundaries self-executing. Make disrespect automatically result in reduced access. Make violation of your trust automatically result in complete removal. And never announce it. Just do it. Let your actions teach the lesson your words never could. Number 9. Convert humiliation into strategic intelligence. Disrespect hurts. There's no point pretending otherwise. When someone treats you poorly, dismisses you, betrays your trust, or humiliates you, the first reaction is always emotional. You feel anger. You feel hurt. You want to lash out or withdraw completely. But here's what Machiavelli would tell you. That emotional reaction, while natural, is wasted energy. The disrespect already occurred. The damage is already done. Your feelings about it won't change that. What can change is what you do with the information. Do not personalize disrespect. When someone treats you poorly, most people make it about their own worth. What did I do wrong? Why don't they value me? Am I not good enough? Stop. The disrespect isn't a referendum on your value. It's data about their character. It's information about how they operate when they think there are no consequences. It's intelligence you can use. Extract behavioral data. When someone disrespects you, ask yourself, what did this reveal about them? What did it show about how they view our dynamic? What does this tell me about their priorities, their values, their level of consideration? Machiavelli once said, "Men ought either to be well treated or crushed because they can avenge themselves of lighter injuries, of more serious ones they cannot." What he meant is this: if you're going to respond to disrespect, do it in a way that completely removes the person's ability to hurt you again. Partial responses, half measures, conditional forgiveness, reduced but continued access only give them the opportunity to refine their approach. Adjust access instead of reacting emotionally. Don't yell at them. Don't explain how they hurt you. Don't give them the satisfaction of knowing they got to you. Just quietly, systematically reduce their access to you. They don't need to know it's happening. They don't need to understand why. They just need to notice that things have changed and that the change is permanent. Here's the strategic value of this approach. When you personalize disrespect, you make it about you. You waste energy defending your worth to someone who's already shown they don't value it. But when you convert disrespect into intelligence, you make it about them. You use their behavior as data to inform your decisions about their role in your life. Someone shows you they can't be trusted. That's not a personal failing on your part. That's information about their capacity for trustworthiness. Adjust your expectations and access accordingly. Someone dismisses your boundaries repeatedly. That's not you being too sensitive. That's them showing you they don't respect your autonomy. Remove them from positions where they can violate it. Someone humiliates you in front of others. That's not about your worthiness of respect. That's about their need to diminish you to feel powerful. Eliminate their access to you entirely. Convert every act of disrespect into strategic intelligence. Let each violation inform your structure. Let each betrayal refine your understanding of who deserves what level of access to you. This isn't about vengeance, it's about accuracy. You're simply matching your level of investment to what people have proven they deserve through their actions. And when you operate from intelligence rather than emotion, you stop taking disrespect personally and start using it purposefully. You stop being a victim and start being a strategist. That's the Machiavellian shift. That's how you convert pain into power. Now, I want you to drop this affirmation in the comments. Disrespect informs my decisions. Number 10. Live structurally cold-blooded. Everything we've discussed distills to this. Structure over emotion, system over spontaneity, discipline over reaction. Living structurally cold-blooded means you don't make decisions about people based on how you feel in the moment. You make them based on how people have proven they behave over time. You don't grant access based on history or potential. You grant it based on current conduct and consistent respect. Require requalification for access. This is critical. Just because someone once had full access to you doesn't mean they retain it forever. Access must be maintained through ongoing respect and reciprocity. If someone had access to you and abused it, they don't regain it just because time passed. They don't regain it because they apologized. They don't regain it because you have history. They regain it only if they've demonstrated through sustained changed behavior that they understand what they lost and why they lost it. Demand reform before forgiveness. Forgiveness without reform is just permission to repeat the offense. When someone hurts you and wants back into your life, the question isn't did they apologize, the question is, has their behavior actually changed? Words mean nothing. Patterns mean everything. If someone's pattern is to disrespect you, apologize, be temporarily better, then gradually slide back into disrespect, that pattern will continue until you break it. Break it by refusing to accept apologies as sufficient. Require behavioral evidence over time. Require them to show, not tell, that they've changed. And if they can't or won't do that work, they don't deserve access to you. Period. Protect peace as a private strategic asset. Most people think peace is something that happens when external conditions are favorable, when people treat them well, when there's no conflict, when everything is smooth. But that's not peace. That's just the absence of current problems. Real peace is internal. It's structural. It's the result of deliberate decisions about who gets access to you and under what conditions. It's what you build when you stop permitting people to violate your boundaries without consequences. Your peace is the most valuable asset you possess. It's not selfish to protect it. It's strategic, because without peace, you can't think clearly, you can't make sound decisions, you can't build anything meaningful, you can't operate from a position of strength. And anyone who threatens your peace through disrespect, manipulation, entitlement, or exploitation must be removed from access. Not maybe, not eventually, immediately. Living structurally cold-blooded means you operate from principles, not feelings. You maintain standards, not exceptions. You protect your peace, not people's comfort with how they treat you. It means you stop making excuses for people who wouldn't make excuses for you. You stop giving chances to people who've proven they'll waste them. You stop prioritizing connection with people who consistently disrespect you. Structure isn't cold. It's honest. It's the framework that protects you from being exploited by people who mistake your discipline for weakness. It's the system that ensures only those who contribute positively can remain in your sphere. And when you live structurally, everything clarifies. You stop attracting people who drain you because your structure filters them out automatically. You stop tolerating disrespect because your system doesn't allow space for it. You stop questioning your worth because your structure isn't based on others' validation. It's based on your own non-negotiable standards. That's what it means to live Machiavellian. Not heartless, not cruel, just strategically disciplined, emotionally protected, structurally sound, operating from a position where your peace is guarded, your boundaries are enforced, and your access is a privilege that must be continuously earned. This is how you transform from someone who begs through behavior into someone who commands through structure. This is how you shift from being controlled by others' manipulation into being governed by your own principles. This is how you stop explaining and start enforcing. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I protect peace through structure. Stop begging. Stop begging through your constant availability. Stop begging through your endless explanations. Stop begging through your tolerance of repeated violations. Because every time you beg, you eliminate the fear of losing you. And without that fear, respect becomes impossible. Value becomes impossible. Healthy dynamics become impossible. Contain access. Make your presence something that must be earned and maintained through consistent respect. Make people uncertain about where they stand when they disrespect you. Make them understand that access to you carries real cost and real consequences when abused. Enforce structure. Don't announce your boundaries. Demonstrate them through immediate action. Don't warn people what will happen. Just make it happen when they violate your terms. Don't negotiate your worth. Require it through your unwavering standards. Withdraw without explanation. Stop giving closure to people who never gave you respect. Stop explaining yourself to people who've proven they don't value your perspective. Stop justifying your decisions to people who wouldn't justify theirs to you. Let your silence and your distance teach the lessons your words never could. This isn't cruelty. This is self-command executed without emotion. This is discipline in its purest form. This is what Machiavelli understood 5 centuries ago and what most people still refuse to accept. Power isn't about dominating others. It's about refusing to be dominated. It's about making yourself structurally impervious to manipulation. It's about making your life architecturally sound so that disrespect can't penetrate it. It's about making your peace so fortified that people must qualify extensively to access it. It's about making yourself so disciplined that emotion doesn't override strategy, that feelings don't compromise structure, that temporary discomfort doesn't make you abandon permanent standards. Cold-blooded control isn't about having no heart. It's about protecting your heart from people who'd weaponize it. It's about maintaining humanity while refusing to let that humanity be exploited. It's about caring deeply about the right people while being completely indifferent to those who've proven they don't deserve your care. That's Machiavelli's discipline. That's the path from begging to commanding. That's how you stop explaining and start enforcing. That's how you transform from someone who seeks validation into someone who positions themselves so that others must seek access. And if this video resonated with you, hit the like button and share this video because someone in your life needs to hear this. Someone you know is still begging through their behavior, still tolerating disrespect, still giving endless chances to people who waste them. Someone you care about doesn't know there's another way to operate. Send this to them. Share it widely. Make sure it reaches the people who need it most. Subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications because this is just the beginning. We're building a community of people who refuse to be controlled by those who exploit weakness. People who understand that structure isn't cruelty. It's self-respect executed with precision. People who are done begging and ready to command respect through their actions, not their words. Drop your affirmations in the comments. Tell me which principle hit hardest. Tell me which boundary you're enforcing starting today. Tell me you're done begging. Tell me you're operating structurally from this moment forward. Because the moment you stop begging is the moment everything transforms. The moment you start enforcing structure is the moment people start respecting your boundaries. The moment you become unreadable is the moment you reclaim control. That's Machiavellian discipline. That's cold-blooded control. That's power executed through strategic detachment. Stop begging. Start commanding.